Today we have one for the small wrist crew. The itty bitty wrist committee, as Jenny L calls us. We are talking about the best Rolex watches for those of us with smaller wrists. It can be hard being a watch lover with smaller wrists, especially in the last few years, when it feels like watches keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I feel like I'm often sized out of the watches I aesthetically really like. But this is actually one of the reasons why I love Rolex so much. I know I'm a Rolex fangirl, so I'm probably not the most unbiased person to talk about this. But as someone with smaller wrists, I greatly appreciate that they still provide reliable mechanical watches even in smaller sizes. Most watch brands, even some of those within higher horology like Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, when they make smaller size watches, you kind of expect them to be quartz. But Rolex still serves the itty bitty wrist committee, quality mechanical watches. Okay, Rolex gushing done. Let's talk watches. The Oyster Perpetual, I think we all knew it was going to start here with me. I've been a massive fan of the Oyster Perpetual for as long as I've been into watches, for a few reasons. They are the most minimal, classic expression of a watch. I'm just really sick of emergencies happening and like ruining my flow. 2, I could only just afford that Rolex entry-level price point. And 3, they come in a stupid amount of sizes. Honestly, there's something for everyone within the Oyster Perpetual line. I've always thought the Oyster Perpetual was the ultimate go anywhere, do anything watch. 100 meters water resistance, brushed steel to prevent any scratching. I mean, how can you not love this watch? The Datejust, very similar to the Oyster Perpetual, but with a few key differences. The first, obviously, being the date. Personally, I prefer no date watches, but the date is often a handy function to have. And you can do a lot more customization with the Datejust. You've still got that wide variety of sizes, but you can play around with fluted or smooth bezel, Oyster or Jubilee bracelet, all steel, two-tone, baton indices, Roman numerals. It's a classic, simple, quintessential Rolex. Now this is the watch that got me into Rolexes in the first place. I remember I used to love my husband's dive watches. He had the Rolex Submariner and I loved the way it sit on his wrist. And I wanted a dive watch that would sit with like the similar proportions on my wrist because the Submariner looks massive on my wrists. I still do it, but I probably shouldn't. Although the Yacht-Master isn't designed to be a professional dive watch, it's still really freaking cool. My first choice would be the rose gold and the black variation on the Oyster Flex. Oh, so good. And my really close second choice is the dark rhodium. With that icy blue hand, it's like, really smart, beautiful watch. And I've got this feeling in my bones that 2022 is gonna be the year of the Yacht-Master. Coming in hot, the Explorer, one of the most popular Rolex models ever. I feel like the Explorer almost needs no introduction. Charming history, timeless design. The current model is a 36mm, so returning to its original sizing. And there is nothing that I dislike about this watch. So the most recent models have had a movement upgrade to the 3230 caliber with 70 hours power reserve, 100 meters water resistance, and a watch that just looks good on anyone's wrist. I personally prefer the proportions of the 36mm. Something about it just looks right to me. But hey, if you like watches that sit slightly larger, the older variation is 39mm. Okay, this is the largest one in the list with a case size of 40mm, but with a lug-to-lug of just 46.5mm, it's surprisingly at home on a smaller wrist. So there's a few things working together that make the Daytona feel smaller. The ceramic bezel makes the dial look much smaller, small lugs, and a thin case. It's actually probably the thinnest chronograph I've ever worn. The Rolex Daytona might just be the most iconic chronograph there is. Or the Speedmaster. It's always kind of between those two. And it comes in so many different variations. I feel like I could quite happily be just a Daytona collector. She says as if she could ever afford to just collect Daytonas. This is in my fantasy world. So the Daytona is one of those watches that really divides people. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally love it. It's probably the busiest watch I would ever wear, but I really enjoy this watch. Oh, I'm actually wearing mine right now. Yes. Right, small wrist crew. Those are my personal favorite watches for those of us with itty bitty wrists. But there's a couple more things I feel like I should add before you go shopping for watches. First, the diameter of a watch isn't always the best way to tell how the watch will wear on your wrist. I find the lug-to-lug measurement, so the measurement between lug tip to lug tip, is often more important than basing my watch choices on the case measurement alone. Sometimes a watch has really long lugs or a really thick case. These factors dramatically affect the wearing experience. And next, when possible, I always recommend trying a watch on before you buy it or make judgments. I know this isn't always possible, but I really recommend seeing a watch in the metal, like getting it on your wrist, seeing how it fits on you personally. But until you see it in the metal, try it on. How does it sit on your wrist? It's really hard to make judgments about watches until you've seen it on your wrist. Anyways, those are just some of my favorite watches for smaller wrists. What do you guys think? What are some of your favorite smaller watches? Tell us everything in those comments down below. And as always, don't forget to do all those awesome things to feed the algorithm gods. Give this video a like, comment, and subscribe to Bob's Watches. Are you not subscribed already? Come on now, babes. Get subscribed. And until next time, you beautiful, fabulous, wonderful watch nerds. Bye, guys.